Welcome to the second episode of Green Cognition. Today's episode is types of plastic pollutants. We will talk about the different categories of plastic debris or pollutants that we commonly see in our environment today. Based on the size of plastic debris that is found in oceans, the largest of the plastic is called the microplastic. This is something which is anywhere beyond 200 millimeter in size. And in the oceans, it would be seen in the form of shoes, discarded shoes, cans, bottles, etc. The next is mesoplastic. These are about 4.76 to 200 millimeter in size, and these are in the form of toothbrushes, discarded straws, parts of bottle or balls, plastic balls, etc. Smaller than them are the large microplastics, which are in the size range of 1.01 to 4.75 millimeter in size. These are fragments of plastic which are floating in the ocean. And even smaller than that are the microplastic, which ranges from 0.33 to 1 millimeter in size. These are basically the smaller versions of the larger microplastic formed by the fragmentation of those plastic. Studies show that plastic pollution in the world's ocean in the quantity of 5 trillion plastic pieces, which weighs more than 250,000 tons, which are currently afloat at sea. This study was done or published in 2014 by Erickson et al. Now, again, on the size of plastic, when we categorize plastic, the macroplastic, mesoplastic, microplastic are the ones that we first spoke about. But then there is also something called the nanoplastic, which are even smaller than 0.001 millimeter, which is basically thinner than a strand of hair. Now, based on the types of plastic or its usage or its properties or composition more specifically, the classification of plastic can be made in the following manner. Polyethylene terephthalate, which is what we know as PET bottles, which is used for cold drinks or soft drinks, what we know as, or mineral water bottles. Then is high density polyethylene, HDPE, which we use for oil containers. We also have polyvinyl chloride. What we see, the pipes are made up from PVC pipes, what we call them. We also have low density polyethylene, LDPE, which is what the plastic bags are mostly made up of. Then there is polypropylene, which are basically more heat resistant water bottles. And we have polystyrene, which we know as being used as foam boards or use and throw tiffin boxes rather. Plastic types and some key properties. Now this table shows a comparison between these types of plastic in terms of some of their properties. And what we see are some of the important properties of this plastic in terms of its recyclability or the time it takes to decompose or its resistance to heat. And if we look at this table, we can see that for most of the plastic types, the amount of recycling or the percentage of recycling is very less, and all of them is less than 50%. And now if you look at the time it takes to decompose all these types of plastic, some of them take more than 1,000 or almost 1,000 years, or even never, as it says in case of polyvinyl chloride. And we see just with that, it has a lot of toxicity levels. The most commonly leached toxin from each of this plastic: antimony chloride, bromide, diazomethane, lead oxide, nickel ethylene oxide, and benzene for PET or PETE. And similarly, we can see other toxins which are leached from each of these plastic components into the environment. Now, if we look at each of these chemicals which are present or the toxins present in this plastic and we research upon them, we'll know that each of them are equally harmful for the environment and for human health, which is why it makes more sense to be very careful while using plastic and especially when discarding them into the nature. These are some of the references that has been used for the article.